HaMitzvah, HaMashlima, HaMitzvah, HaMashlima Shivim. He his here, Balmum Shelo La'avod. So just before we get involved, the question just in the Sefer Rambam, he's quoting here mitzvahs abalimumim. The mitzvah before was the Isa Knisa abalmum me'ul mizbeach. So you're just in the Sefer Rambam. So what I thought is that it could be that if you work with the Rambam more in the Buchim, that you could explain it. Because if you look at the Seder over here, you have the mitzvah of the lav of Bittul Shmiras HaMikdash, and then you go into the issues of Balimumim. And I just like to read to you a section, a short selection more in the Buchim, in Chele Gimel Perek Mem Hey. Ulahagdil abayis od higdil ma'alos avodov v'nivdelu HaKohanim Levim. That part of the Roimus and to be the covered abayis is to magdil the Kohanim Levim, the avodah. V'siva lahalbish HaKohanim begodim noim u'malbushim yofim v'toivim bigdei koilish l'chov l'seforos. That's lahagdil. U'shelo yishamesh ba'avodah balmum. V'lo balmum levad ala kiurim kegam kein poislin b'kohanim k'mo she'izboye b'talmud בטעם לזה סמיצו, מפני שהמוין לא יגדל אודום אצלוי בצורוסוי או אמיתיס אלא בשלימוס איבו ויופי בגודו ובמכוון שיהיה לבייס הגוד ופריס אצל הכל. So since it wants to be to Feris Eitzel HaKol, the bias, so the Avodim also need such a thing. And I assume he starts from a Kohanim Levim, but Mumim only plays on Kohanim. Because they oived him, I assume. So the Isa, Shmiras HaMikdash, the Ram says that it's covered for the bias to have Shoimim, because we really don't need Shoimim, but it's like the Kaviochel, the Havdalah for Abdullah is in Britain, they have the God, whatever it is, I don't know what they call it, but we have that Shomerim l'chover abayis. An extension of chover abayis is not only shouldn't be vatal the shmira, but that the balimumim shouldn't take part in the avodah or even be nichnas lifnim. So that's this mitzvah. We have mitzvah hamashlim shivim. She is here balmum shelo la'avod. Now, this balmum is not only mumim hamiuchadim la'odem u'abehemo, but it also includes mumim. According to the Rambam, we'll see about that. Hamiuchadim la'odem v'lo lebehem. As the Rambam in Hilchos Bias HaMikdash, Perek Vov, Halacha Vov, Kol miyesh beimum shepoisel be'odom uve behemo v'ovad be'mishoyim be'mimezid avodas apsula. Im hoye mezid loike. V'chol mi sheyesh boy mum min המום המיוחדים לאדם, and not the בהמה, בלבד, לאדם המיוחדים לאדם, ועובר אף על פי שהוא loike, so loike, what for this life, לא חיל עבודה. So the difference is whether it's חיל עבודה or not, but it's called a mum. So when the Ram says shehize bal mum, it's not only mum miuchadim la'adam behema, but also mum miuchadim la'adam. However, Rashi disagrees, and Rashi learns that mumim that are miuchadim la'adam is it's not mum, it's not a mum, but it's Edo Shova Bizarre Shal Avin. And it's only an assay. The Rashi is in Becheres. Mem Gimel Omen Aleph. Ish Hashova Bizarre Shal Avin. Who the boy Mumo? Or ain't Shova Bizarre Shal Aaron, Beloy Muma Nami Mifsa. If you have a mum, you puzzle. But if it's ain't a Shova Bizarre Aaron, you don't need mum. If it's Shova Bizarre Shal Aaron, they need mum. Or ain't Shova Bizarre Shal Aaron, Beloy Muma Nami Mifsa. And the MSC is the Gemara's mashma. At least we have the gifts of the Gemara. Gemara B'cheis. Name Gimel Beis. My Ika Bein Muma L'She'el Shova B'Zara Shal Aaron. There's Mum. There's Ein Shova B'Zara Shal Aaron. Ein Shova B'Zara is not Mum. It's something else. Ika Mishum Michuli Avoida. Muma Mochal Avoida is a Mum. It's Machal Avoida. Tichsiv Mum Boy Lo Yichal. If it's a Mum, it's Machal. She'en Shova B'Zara Shal Aaron Lo Mochal Avoida. Because it's not a mum. So that's the Pasha of the Gemara, and that's the Rashi. The Rambam, whatever he does, he clearly includes Ein Shova B'Zara Shal Aaron as a mum. But a mum which is not Machal Avodah. Now, let's continue. He, she, his here, Baal Mum, Shula Avoid. Ale, Ish Mizaracho, Ledoirei Seichem, Ledoirei Som, Asher Avoy Mum, Lo Yikrav Lahakriv. So, what does it mean, Lo Yikrav Lahakriv? He shouldn't get close to Lahakriv. They shouldn't be an oived. So I'm explaining it. From the pasuk reading it, you wouldn't know anything. Lo yikrav lahakriv. Vataloyma shelo yikrav la'avoid. And the Rambam even goes further. In Mishnah Torah, he says that the idea, or he explains that the idea that it's that the lav is avoida is mipi hashmua, which means the pirush or Kabbalah, whatever you want, mipi hashmua is a Kabbalah. The Rambam in Hilchos Bias HaMikdash Perek Vav Halacha Aleph. V'im ovad b'mikdash posal v'chil avoida v'loike af al ho avoida shenema asher yeh boy mum lo yikrav mipi hashmua lomdu she'azhara zo shelo yikrav la'avoida shelo yikrav la'avoida, which is basically what he's saying over here, lo yikrav la'avoida, that's a Kabbalah. So, I was looking at this and I asked myself, yeah, this is amazing. I would look at the pasuk and said that there's an isavoid that's true to shal mikro. What do you need a pirush makubal for? So what I think is the Rambam l'taimei that he learns when it talks about lahakriv or something, it means to come close. It's an isa knisa. And it would have been a kefil of the lav of the isa knisa mizbeach, ubeinu mizbeach, which we discussed last week. And we said it's kefil. And Uba Pirush Makubal to tell us that this is an isa avoid and not an isa biyah. And that's what he calls it. Achal apoiches lo yovo lo mizbeach lo yigash. Lo yigash l'choyer means he shouldn't come. He could have said it's lavoid. That's what Ramban learns. The Ram learns lo yigash means to come near, to come close. So Yaakov also to come close. It would have been isa biyah, isa knisa. So that the Ram l'taimei has to say haloyim lo Yaakov lavoid. That's what I would say. I think it's pretty clear. And he says more. B'chol zmon she'ovad balmum, b'chol zmon she'ovad balmum loike. Yeah. V'gam hu, you see, in Kapach, it just said, one second, sorry. No. V'chol zman she'ovad balmum loike. So this is a very strange lashon. V'chol zman. What does he want to say? V'chol zman she'ovad balmum loike. He wants to say it based on my nichav. So I'll tell you what I'd like to say. I would suggest that what the Rambam wants to say is v'chol zman she'ovad, any avodah that he does as a balmum, it doesn't depend upon what type of avodah it is. He's chai malchus. V'chol zman she'ovad, balmum is like it. And this would be supported, I'll explain to you. The Rambam, and I'll tell you what the issue is. Loisa say ayin dalid. Ayin dalid. That's the lav zam. It says like this. Ukva towards the end of ayin dalid. Ukva nizboye b'gmor yumo. Elu avodas chayav alei mazal misa. V'omu arba avodas zach chayav alei misa. V'elu hein zrika v'haktoro v'nisach hayayin v'nisach hamayim. And this is what the Gemara calls avodah tama. So the Ram goes out of his way by Zal to tell you this chiddush, that there's a difference. The chiyuv misa, whatever it is only by avodah tama. So I would have assumed that the azhoris mentioned before, ayin dalid, do not require avodah tama. And then the lashon v'chol zman is beautiful. And if that's the case, the Ram missays himself because in Mishnah Torah, it's mefurish pretty much that the Chiyuv Malkis is only in Avodah Tamu. The Ram B'Yis HaMikdash, Perek Tes Halacha Yud, says the following: Hatome ubalmum u'shelo yochel hatome, right? Ubalmum, that's us. U'shelo yochel yodayim v'aglayim. Sheshimesh b'mikdash einon chayovim elo al avodas she'azah chayim aleim misa v'al shahu avodas be'azhola. So in a chayom aleim, what do you mean in a chayom aleim? So it means there's no malchus. There's only malchus for avodah tamu. So that's interesting. There should be an issue about that between Mishnah Torah and Sefer HaMitzvos. But the other hand, the Lashon B'chol Zman she'ovad, and maybe the diuk later that he only mentions this idea of avodah tamu later, you know, it might it might support this, because he says b'chol zman she'ovad balmum loike, it means you loike even avodah tamu. That's what I would say. Then he has like something out of nowhere, and the question is, what's the issue over here? He has a teres kohanim, and we don't know what the Rambam wants. V'chein omru. Okay, so now he's bringing a raya because he says loike, and the Ram means loike. It's only malchus and nothing more, and that's v'chein omru b'sifro ein balmum b'misa ela be'azhara, and that's the v'chein. Okay, so now the question is, there's no passing says loy sambusu. So why are we doing? We have to have a sifra and a discussion. Mitzvahs is something that mechitese. So here, first of all, he does the same thing. First of all, before it's just one more point. Okay. The Ram in the B'Yis HaMikdash, Perek Vav Halacha Beis, v'ein b'alei mumim she'ovdu b'misa el b'malchus b'lvad. It's in Sefer HaMitzvos Mishnah Torah. We don't know what the issue is. So the emes is there is a machlokes tanoim, or there's misa shamayim, and what the Ram wants to say is that we paskin like the Tana that there's no misa shamayim, it's only malchus. Gemara Sanhedrin, Pei Gimel and Aleph, Balmum Rebbe Omer, B'Misa Chamoimim B'Asos B'Chubus Tanoi, and the Sifro also in Emor Parsha Gimel Pei Gimel Halacha Yud Aleph, Uminayin Shebalmum B'Misa Reb Yehuda. There it's Rebbe in the Gemara Sanhedrin. It's Reb Yehuda. Oime nema kan chilo, v'nema lahalon chilo, ma chilo shenema lahalon misa, af kan misa, v'chamoimim ein balmum b'misa ela b'ashol. So there's a machlokes tanoim, and that Tano who says is a chibis le'shamayim, it learns of Gzeir Shov, and the Ram the Sifra coming. There's no misa. It's only malchus. B'chein is chayim malchus. It's only malchus. Okay, so this L'cheira is a very this This is not so difficult. No, that's a mitzvah. Mashlim Shivim. So, well, okay. Okay. This, I think, was simple. The problems begin with the next. Okay. HaMitzvah ho'achas v'shivim. He shehizir balmum oiver. So I guess before we told him on kavur. Shelo la'avoid kol zman shehamum ahu boy. See here, the kol zman means as long as it's there. It's a different zman than before. And once the moon, it's a moon, once the moon goes away, he can go back and start doing avoid again. There's nothing stopping him. The only thing stopping is the moon. It's like a moon. So when it's over, he can be over. But the lavi is when it's still there. Kagoyin hagorov. Vayalefes. Vadim lehem min hamumim ho'ivrim. See here, in the Ksav the Bloch, the Yalefes, in the Arabic, it's not the Hebrew Yalefes, the Pasuk. It says Al Chazaz, which means Ha-Chazozis. And that's the Rambam in Hukas Bis HaMikdosh, Perek Vov Halacha Daled, Umum Oiver Kegongorov O Yalefes Vihi Hachazozis. So I think some of the Tirgumim have over here Chazozis inside, or whatever it is, or it's we just whatever it is. We're not talking. We're talking about Gorov and Yalef, which is Chazozis. But Daimalehen Minamum Minoivim. Any mumoiver, vu'amo yis'ale kol ish asher boy mum lo yikrav. So you could have said maybe it's allowed for knisa, beer. So the question is, what does he want the Sefer for? Maybe he's proving that it's not, it's avodah. Glosha Sefer, it's an Emo, Pasha Gimel, Perek Beis, Halacha Hey. Asher yiyeh boimum, ainli ela mum kavua, mum eiver minayin. So since we know that Asher yiyeh boimum is referring to avodah, that's the law before. So Asher ainli ela mum oiver minayin. So maybe that's the raya doch that even a mum oiver, the yikrav means not knisa but avodah. Haloyim kol ish asher boy mum lo yikrav. So the Sefer says that the isa is avodah. Umi she'ovad gam kein v'ovad mi she'ovad gam kein v'ovad b'mum. He does an avodah b'mum, but mum oiver is like it. V'ayis boy mishpei mumin oivrim shel adam umumin kavuyin b'shvi mi b'chayreis. Okay. So maybe it's an illusion that oivrim b'shel adam is that mumi. So maybe not. Okay. I don't know if it's negay because it's very clear anyway. See, I don't know if you here. I'll tell you something. It sounds like a very simple mitzvah, and everything's done. And but I would say on this, mitzvah is poshit. Shlomo Melech says, "Echmo urchaykim." I have no clue what's happening. When I learned this mitzvah, I asked the following question. And then, when I saw the Hasagas Ramban, I said, oh, the Ramban's asking my question. But I'm not even clear at the moment. That's why I want to go through everything. I'm not sure the Ramban's asking my question or a different. Let's just start very simple and, nothing, nothing very dramatic. Okay. We learned in Shiur's Chi that when the Rambam says that sometimes you have a lav, which is kefil. If it's a poshut to kefil, then it's the Torah wants to say it's a lav homo, whatever, a lav homo. But then he says that sometimes, and the Rambam is explaining why in certain kefil that we don't count it as a separate mitzvah. So if it's basically the same thing, it's kefil kilu to sow the chumra adover. Says Shabbos is 12 times in the Torah, or whatever it is, whatever. There's another case of kefil, which is only counted one in the din mitzvahs. That's kefil lahashlim din. That with the first, you'd only say din X applies. And with the kefil, you say also why. Okay. So I would have said that, why should anyone say that there are two lavim in minyan mitzvahs, a lav balmum kavur and a balmum moive? Say there's a lav of balmum, and the Torah has one lav which tells you kavur, and the Torah is kefil in order to be mashlim the din that it not only applies to moive, but it even applies to mum. Not only applies to mum kavur, but it even applies to mum moive. That's what I would have said. And in fact, the Kadmoinim, the Bahag, the Sadigoim, don't have a separate lab in minyan mitzvahs of Baal Mumoiva. Now, let me read to the Ramban in the Hasagas to this Azhara. Kosovo Rav, ba mitzvah shivachas, shenimne Baal Mumoiva, Mino avoida kol zman shamum hahu yiyeh boy ulosh sifo eliela kavua oive minayin hamuloimo kol ish asher boy mum lo yikrav. So Ramban says vani oimer shamani hazo im hakedemes lo, which means mitzvah shivim, mitzvahs lo isase achas, should only be counted as one. Vihi shemonu aksuvim kol balmum min ho avoido. If we close all balmum, well, it's kovuoive ubeiro shakol amumim b'miniya hazois ushneim yachad lahashlim hadin. So he's saying exactly that. That's exactly what I wanted to say. But then he does something which I don't get. Okay. So till this point, if you had stopped here, lahashlim din be'inyan hazeh, I would have said, okay. So my first thought looking at the Rambam says, wow, it's against the Sherish test. Why does the Rambam do this? And I saw the Ramban, and I said, good gefrekt. And then I looked at the last line, and it clearly threw me off. Kimaymo horav b'lav samuch tes she'omar ach el apluchis lo yovoy ve'al mizbeach lo yigash. So he says this phenomenon of lahashlim din you find in mitzvah samach tes, with the isa of knisa of balmum to mizbeach in ulam la mizbeach in ulam and heich. And here I'm very confused. And I never would have said that, because in samach tes, the pshat in the Alaproiches Leovam Mizbeach Lo Yigash is Lahashlim Din. See, if you remember, the Ram says there's a tzrichasa, and if you would have had one of them, and not the other one, you wouldn't have known something. You wouldn't have. You needed tzrichasa, you need both of them. But you really have nothing much until you have both of them. That's the Lashon of Rambam. The Rambam it's the Lashon Teres Kohanim. The Rambam writes in Mitzvah Samach Tes, Ukvar Hisboyer Gam came besifro Sheshnei Lavim Elu Behem El Apreches Lo Yovel Mizbech Lo Yigash Lo Yaspik Echod Mehem Bilti Ho'acher ושניהם יחד, the conglomerate, להשלומס הדין, בעניין אחד, והוא הגבולס המוקם האוסר עליהם, להיכנס. So you wouldn't have known one without the other, you never tzrichasa. But over here, it's not really, so it's tzrichasa. I don't know if you, even without the din, of lahashlim din, you would have said you need tzricha, so it's a double portion. Each one needs the other one. So it's certainly one lav. So I'm not sure why the Ramban compares the Samach Tes. I would have said Samach Tes, everyone should agree with. But there's a chiddush in Sherish Tes of lahashlim din. The Ramban calls Samach Tes lahashlim din. I'm confused about it. Okay? But that really is a question of nomenclature, because the Ramban himself says that the problem over here is lahashlim din. Now, I would have added something. I would have said, even if you could have grappled and tackled and been successful and explained why this is not lahashlim din, l'cheira, this is a food for thought. You could have suggested there's another problem in Sherish Shvi'i. If you remember Sherish Shvi'i, the Rambam, what's protein mitzvah different Eifanim to violate permutations or protein mitzvahs, but if you recall, the Rambam Sherish Shvi'i says that we apply Sherish Shvi'i as we know in Mitzvah Saseh, because the Rambam says that for Sherish Shvi'i, Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni really should have been only one mitzvah. Korban Oliviyot is one mitzvah. All different types of chatas is one mitzvah. But the Sherish Shvi'i doesn't only apply to Mitzvah Saseh. The Ram says it applies to Lavin. If you remember, da a mitzvah achas he anu sem shleima a mischayev zeis kedoma tzivuyim va'azhoros rabim behilchos hamitzvah hamoshel lekach chalitza vayibum hein shtei mitzvahs mitzvah say v'zeh dover shein bo machlokes kasher is bleeding behilchos shtei mitzvahs elu mitzvah u'mashem mischayim mehetem lagdovis mischayim Shianosh of Choltzes lo misyavois or whatever, Choltzes lo misyavois, whatever. So the Ram seems to say at least at the beginning, that you apply Shirish V not only in mitzvah, but in mitzvah. So I could have imagined that even if you could have denied that a kefil hashlim din, you could have said that two permutations, the two ways to violate the ashor of mum. There's a mum kavua and a mum oiver. So if that's the case, it also should have been one lav. So I'm just telling you, from Shi'i, from the Hashlim Din, you want the Ramban, you don't want the Ramban about Prichis in Mitzvah Samotes. And then you have Shvi. This is all very difficult. So I just want to tell you something. I don't understand it. I mamish don't understand it. I found in Eben Ozel, see, he's, he's not trying to tackle, what's Shatan Rabba, but he's tackling, I don't know, a problem in Kesef Mishnah. Because the Ramban disagrees with the Rambam by Balmum Kavu and Balmum Oiva in two places. Not only as far as the lav of Avodah, but there's a lav of Hakrova of a Behema Balmum. And there's a lav on a Balmum Kavu. The Rambam has a separate lav and a Balmum Oiva. Separate lav minyan mitzvahs. So the Ramban disagrees with both of them. Both in terms of the Oived and in terms of the Behema of the Korban. Beseder. So comes the Kesef Mishnah. And when it comes to Korban, and he's suing Mivdeach, he quotes Dasogas Ramban. So, heck, the Eben Ozel, Sadakasha that I was brought up to ask, but I'm just telling you what he does. Correct the Eben Ozel. Why does the Kesef Mishnah only quote the Ramban by Behema Balmum and Balmum and Balkabur? Why does he quote it by the lav of Akrova Balmum Moive and Kavur? That's the big question. Okay. So this in Eben Ozel in Hilchos Yisui Mizbeach Perak Aleph Lochei. See, I like this. I don't understand. Or Perak Vovidis, but I was excited that he was trying to deal with the question because I have no clue. I just don't get it. You see, I'm not even sure. I think the most important question is, why is the Rambam quoting the Teres Kohanim? So you could say he's quoting it that it's an Isa Avodah, it's not an Isa Abiyah. Okay. But to say that there's a raya from the Teres Kohanim with two mitzvahs and binyan mitzvahs, doesn't make any sense. V'loshen Sifro, asher yeh boi mum, ein li ela mum kavua, mum oive min ayin, haloyim. So it's a lotion of lahashlim din. So how does he quote this Teres Kohanim, which is basically crying out lahashlim din, that it's it's not a raya, that it's a separate mitzvah? So that's why I don't get it. But come the Eben Ozel. In Perik Aleph Yisui Mizbeach Halocha Hey. Und Perik Vov Milchus Bias Mikdash Gabi Avodas Koyin Balmum Shemona Gam Kein Horambam Balmum Kovuyo Balmum Oivel L'Shtei Mitzvahs V'Ramban Hisigo Gam Shom V'Leivia Kesef Mishnah. Why? Mishum Tishom Yesh Al Koponim Posik. By Adam, there's a separate Posik Miuchad Al Balmum Oivel. It's a Posik Miuchad for Lava Balmum Oivel. V'Sefer Rambam Shulam Miuchad. And therefore it's a Lava Miuchad. V'Sefer Rambam Shulam Miuchad. Avokan Behemo Einu Ala Riboy. Bein B'Pashas Emo Ubein B'Pashas Shevtim. So therefore, it's like a double portion. It shouldn't be too loud. So that's the Ramban's. So I don't understand, the fact that there's a Mefusha Pasuk, if it's Bol Ashlan Din, you're back to where you started. I don't understand what the big, the Kasha, Mishnah, the answers. I don't get it. I don't get it. But I'm just trying to tell you, I can only say it'll have to be done with the Rambam Bekalka. I wouldn't ask him about Samach Tes, but I'll ask him how does it square with Shurish Chi of Ashlan Din, and if he's serious about that line that he has at the beginning of Shurish V, that you can have Shurish V with Ashos. So this should have been a prime example, and it should have been one mitzvah. Okay. That is what I have about these two lavim. And I, frankly, am very, very, very confused. Now, I guess we'll start this. I don't believe we'll finish it because this is a very rough mitzvah. Mitzvah Hashtayim v'shivim, he shehizir ha'levim mihisasek b'dova min ha'avodos hamiuchados lekehנים. והכהנים גם כן מתעסק בדבר מן העבודות המיוחדות ללווים. So the Isa for the Kohanim to be involved, the Levim to be involved in Avodas Kohanim, and for Kohanim to be involved with Avodas Levim. וזה כי שתי אלו המשפחות, כלומר הכהנים והלווים, לכל משפחה מהן עבודה מיוחדת לא במקדש. I'm not getting involved in this. I just want to point out, he shtei elo mishpachos. You get the impression he's trying to say, that the mishpach, there's a mishpachos kohanim, mishpachos levim, and they're two separate mishpachos. Where the kohanim were also levim, there's long discussions about this, and this lashon is very intriguing. But okay, they're just telling you the lush is very strange. Kohanim levim, lekol mishpacha mehen avoda miuchedes lo b'mikdash. Each of these families has very specific duties in the Beis HaMikdash. Uboas haloim meno yis'ale lishneihem yachad shelo la'avod echod mehen ba'avodas ha'achid. That a kohen shouldn't do avodas Levi, and a Levi shouldn't do avodas kohen. El kol kat mehem b'ma shenitztapsa. But they should do what they're supposed to do. L'cheira, this line over here what to do with the lav? Unless that's good for the lav, that the lav is to do shalei mitzvosai. Ela kol echod mehem b'ma shenitztapsa. And since they should do ma shenitztapsa, so they shouldn't do ma shelo nitztapsa as a lav case. Kmo she'omar lishneihem, kmo she'omar. One second. Uboas haloim meno yis'ala lishneihem yachad. Lishneihem yachad. Kmo she'omar ish al avoidosai v'el maso. So this pasuk, ish al avoidose v'el maso. You see, one second. Let's go back again. El kol kat mehem b'mashin it stops. And where wasn't it stops? Shen it stops. Kmo sha'oma ish al avoidoso v'el maso. That's mashin it stops. Each person should do what he should be doing. And that's referring to Kohanim and Levim. So that's mashin it stops. Okay. Valav shebom behem who amar yis'ala balevim. This pasuk ish, and we'll come back to this. It's very important postulate. Ish al avodoso ve'al maso is referring to Kohanim and Levim. That's what he says. The Boaz hora mimenu yis'ala l'shneim yachad shelo yavod echod mehem avoda ha'acher el kol kat mehem b'mashin itztavso. It's the Kohanim b'mashin itztav Kohanim, Levim b'mashin itztav Levim. Kmo she'omar ish al avodoso ve'al maso refers to Kohanim and Levim. And then there's a lav, valav shebo bohem hu amar yis'ale balevim ach el klei hakodesh v'el hamizbeach lo yikul. And that's a Levim. And v'achrei kein shov b'dibar l'kohanim v'omu lo yamusa gam haim gam atem. What's haloyim? What's a bezeh she'atem gam kein k'mohem. Ki k'mo she'huzru huzhartem me'aseis avodaschem. V'hu klei hamitzvos b'mizbeach. Okay, we'll see. In the same way, the Kohanim and Levim, they both have Isa. Okay, so we have to go here very slowly. But the important thing, let's go on. There's a tzivur atera on both Kohanim and Levim. Shoma ish al avidosei v'el maso. Okay. Now, the problem is, lefi pshuto shel mikra. Let's just read the Rambam, and then we'll explain it. The Rambam in Hilchos Klei HaMikdash v'Oivdim Boy, Peh Gimel Lochetes. Shmuel HaRoyeh v'David HaMelech chilku haLevim li'arbo v'esrim mishmoros. I'm skipping one. V'Rosh Ha'avos mechalkin elu ha'oivdim b'yoim shelahen. Ish al avoidosai. Shlochera. Ish al avoidosai. Rosh Ha'avos mechalkin elu ha'oivdim b'yoim shelahen ish al avoidosai. So l'cheira, איש על עבודוסוי is referring to the pasuk. So I thought that and he does it over here again. Yeah. And he says, "V'chein haLevim atzmom muzharin al chiyud shelo yaseh echad meleches chaveroi shelo yisayeh mishoyer l'shoyer." That's later on in the thing. We'll see about this later, or next time. V'lo yashoyer l'mishoyer shenemo ish al avodoso v'al masol. So this is referring to Levim. The Rambam here in Sefer HaMitzvos seems to say that it's referring to both Kohanim and Levim, not the impression that you get in Mishnah Torah. In fact, what the Rambam does in Mishnah Torah is l'chera pshuto shel mikra. This pasuk al masol the al avodos al masol refers to Levim. Is pshuto shel mikra. The Chaim HaKadosh also points it out over there. Our Torah, the Mekoimot. So this is very odd. So this is just that what the Ram does. See, the interesting thing is that, just give you I don't know if I wrote this. Okay, just to give you an idea of what's involved here. Yeah. Yes. Bamidbo Bisklov, Vesal, Viesbonov, Tifkoid, Vishomu Eskunasu. So, yeah. Then he goes on. He says, here. Let me just read to you part of this over here. Okay. It's in Biskarov on Chumash in Bamidbo. Pasha Bamidbo, Vs Allen's on page 62. Vs Allen, Vs Bonov, Tivkoit, Vishomo Eskunosa. So let's go. He says, let's ochin, da ikro, da vazokov yumos, da shinum le zalis, avoido gabe levim, vavolis levim ksiv, ulu gabe avolis kohanim. V'gam iko ashov adin tzrichim liyos memunim kol echol al avoidosoi muvur b'Rambam perek gimel milchus klei hamikdash halacha yud. Dehu mikro the ish al avoidoso v'al masol. Oh, mikro the kacha tese levim mishmoisam kemavur b'tois erchim. Yud Aleph Yain Sham. I don't know if it's better added this in brackets. But this pasuk ish al avodas al masol is that Levim have to be menuyim. Ukra ba'avodas Levim ksiv. Ukra ba'avodas Levim ksiv. It doesn't quote that the Sefer HaMitzvos, the Ram quotes it by Kohanim. Okay, Kol b'sei Levim. Umehechetei say. So he says, since the Ram says this posik quotes the posik for this, that in Perek, that the Mamuna, whatever it is, Perek Gimel Chlei Hamikdash Halacha Yud, and he doesn't say that the Ram before quotes this posik in before by Shmuel Alei or whatever. He just says, and it says the posik is called by Levim. By Levim Ksiv. Mechitese in the Chadish Ach Milsa Gabe Avodas Kahuna Shiur Tzrichen Minu Yavoidasa. Then he says, then he comes over here. V'hine yayin sham b'rama perigim l'chlei hamikdash halachates shekosev deroshei ha'avois heim hamachalkim es halavim ish al avoidosai. So this will come back soon. We'll see. Okay, so that's this is going to be very important. It's going to be very important for the chinuch. That's what this is leading up to. But just you should know that l'cheira, the Ram over here seems to be the pasuk goes on both Kohanim and Levim. V'alav shebo b'hem ukol Levim ach el klei hamikdash v'el mizbeach lo yik. Okay. V'achre kain shov v'dibar l'kohanim v'yomer lo yemusa gam heim gamat. So let me just give you something to and then we'll move on. There is two important questions you have to ask yourself, or three we'll have to deal with. There is Kohanim and Avodas Levim, and Levim and Avodas Kohanim. So Levim and Avodas Kohanim eat a separate lab over here for this. It's the Chazarim. But the Ram is careful to quote this lab before he quotes the lab of Zar, which is a few labim later. So it means it's a separate Isa of Levim and Avodas Kohanim. Independent of Zar, we have to know what it is. Then there's another issue, because the Ram over here says that quotes the Medrash Chazal that Levim in Avodas Levi Chaveroi is also Chayiv. It's not only Kohanim Avodas Levim, Levim Avodas Kohanim, but Levim and Avodas Levim. So then the question is, but the Ram doesn't say Kohanim and Avodas Kohanim, and he doesn't say it here, he doesn't say Mishnah Torah. And comes the Chinuch and says, no, Men Adaima, that it should apply, okay, to Avodas Kohanim. So the question is, does that make any sense or not? Biskarov claims that he doesn't understand it, and the Chofetz Chaim, in the end of Talmud, also seems not to understand it because the Chinuch, but he also seems not to understand this. And this basically, and I'll leave you with this basically is the question, is it true that Kohanim and Levim are the same? What Briskelov seems to say, and I heard this also from my Rebbe, and the Chofetz Chaim seems to say this in Zevach Teda, in Tezvav Amud Beis in Talmud, is that in Levim there's a minui for avodah. In Kohanim there's no minui. A kohen basically do any avodah he wants. That's why you have pious, and in order they should be zeiches something, because a kohen can do any avodah. In Levim there's avodah of the masol that each one has their own individual avodah. So therefore there could be avodas chavera. In kohen there's no avodas chavera because every kohen can do everything. So Mitzvah Hashem, we'll pick this up next time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we'll have to let them talk about it, but I think it's supposed to be a week after the Pesach, and I think it's supposed to change the time. You have a Chag Kosher B'Sameach, you should be Zoich Lechem and Ezlochem and Apsoch and Mitzvah Hashem. I'll try to send out tomorrow Shiur on Pesach. Should all be Zoich.